Stage and Screen with Andy Snowden. Let us know what you want to hear on WhatsApp with the number 01978 540 410. We love local. Calon FM.
Danny Taylor, the party is over on the Stage and Screen show. Love that. Just a little bit too much. Now then, touring the country at this present time is a brand new piece. It's called Something About George and tells the story of the quiet Beatle, they called him, George Harrison. Tonight is playing at the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall, and on the 8th and 9th of March we'll be stopping up at Theatre Clwyd in Mold. Stars actor Daniel Taylor, and I am so pleased to say he joins us on the line now. And Danny, thanks for joining us, my friend. It's lovely to have you back on the Stage and Screen show.
Right.
I know I'm starting all my interviews off at the moment asking about the pandemic and how everybody got on. So we'll start there, shall we? How was it for you? Did you cope okay?
I don't know. I mean, in terms of how was it, I think as an actor, I think we're quite good at sort of reinventing ourselves for a start. And it's like, well, how are we going to get around this one? One of the things I started to do was to teach acting online, which I never thought in a million years would be possible. And which I'm still doing now. I've still got some of those students. Some of them are over here and some of them are over in the States. And it's great. That's amazing in itself. But just getting through lockdown, I think it was obviously an extraordinary time for everyone, and including the kids, and for that whole setup, the whole routine obviously went out the window. So I think on a working note, I think it was obviously our industry was going to be one of the first to sort of go, as was with the hospitality. So. I was lucky, my partner was really supportive, and she was just sort of, come down here, and a house ain't too shabby. Do you know what I
mean? But I think you're right. Actually, I think the entertainment industry, the entertainment industry was hit. Probably, I think they were the worst treated actually by the government. If we're going to be honest about it, but you were literally on tour with Blood Brothers when everyone was told that's it, you've got to basically shut up shop and just go home, and is that how it felt, or was there a build up to it? How was it when the call came?
Well, it was all of that, So we don't think we're going to Coventry next week, and suddenly we get to the end of the week, you're not going to Coventry, Belgrade Theatre. It was suddenly just go home. But the other thing as well, as you know as well, Andy, is that I produce plays as well. I do the Shakespeare's every year, which I set up at the Epstein, and one of our productions had got picked up of the Scottish play.
Yep.
Macbeth, and that was due to be in Singapore, which was amazing. Really, we were due over there. The Globe Theatre was involved with the same theatre, and we had a production going out there, and I think I probably felt it before maybe a lot of people over here, really, because I was getting calls from Singapore saying there's this virus going about, and people are queuing up outside supermarkets, and they're actually nicking the toilet roll more than they're meant to have. And I was just like, oh, it's a virus. It'll pass, and then they called back a following week. It's like, can we move the date? So we moved the date again, and then we moved it again. And I'm telling people on tour that I'm on tour with Blood Brothers, saying, look, we're shifting our date here. This virus over, the other side of the world is actually a lot worse than what we actually, what I thought, really. So I kind of felt it a lot earlier than, probably people on Blood Brothers, or even people over here, I think, because I had to then go back to the actors that were going, and the creatives that were going to Singapore, and sort of saying to them, well, we're going to have to rearrange, and then we rearranged again, and in the end it was just impossible. But it was so sad, because we'd sold our run at the Victoria Theatre in Singapore out. It was a really exciting time,
Yeah. But there was a danger, a very real danger of, and I think everybody felt it, that we were never ever going to get back to normal. It was never going to. It was never going to get back to it, but it seems we are back to normal now. So, that's how it feels anyway. And you're on tour with something about George, the George Harrison story. We'll talk about that in a moment, if that's all right. Because when lockdown was lifted and you got back on, you literally hit the ground running. You were back on tour with Blood Brothers. You did Ferry Across the Mersey, Panto again, of course. Is that how it felt? Did you feel that it was just basically that's it? Back we're allowed back out to play, so as it were.
Do you know what, Andy? I mean, you've been involved with Blood Brothers as well, and it's. I've always said it's probably the safest job in theatre. And when Bill Kenwright came and said, "Do you want to come back on the tour?" I was like, "Yeah." I'll have some of that, especially coming back into everything. I knew that for just personal reasons I couldn't stay on it for too long, so things going on in the family and things. So I then got an offer to do Tuppence. It was Tuppence to Cross the Mersey. It was the Helen Forrester.
Beg your pardon, that's it, yeah.
Yeah. And that came in, and that was a local tour, so it meant that I could do all the things I needed to do at home. But the Blood Brothers thing, I jumped at it, and I've never. I think a lot of people in our industry, even people in television, I was talking to some of friends that work a lot on TV and stuff, and they've just taken so much on, thinking that it wasn't really going to stick. And of course it did.
Yeah.
So then we were just sort of overwhelmed with stuff, with work as well. So there was that side of it as well. I mean, I do tend to sort of say yes too much, because there's always that fear that something might not happen, and you've got to pay your bills. And I don't like sitting around, if I'm honest. I don't really go home and put on a box set. I'd rather be sort of creating something or doing something that's moving something forward, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I mentioned Panto, and of course Panto's where you met your second in command, shall we say, your good lady, Shirley Ballas.
No, first in command. Let's get this right here.
That hasn't gone unnoticed. I was just being polite to you.
Me and you, come on.
So you met in the Liverpool Empire, right?
Yeah, I was going through a breakup. It was a difficult sort of time personally, and I went into rehearsals, and I was playing Flesh Group, and the lady playing the Good Fairy was Shirley Ballas, and all my scenes were with her, and we sort of spent a lot of time in the rehearsal room, and we'd go away and work on stuff. And she was just one day, she said, "Are you all right?" I went, "Well, no, not really. I'm going through this breakup. I've got a kid, blah, blah, blah." And she's just like, "Well, don't worry, I'll keep an eye on you and all of this." And she invited us over on Christmas Day. I went over for a few hours just to say hello to her and her mum, and
lovely.
Which was a really lovely thing. And it kind of sort of went from there, really. I didn't really sort of plan it, and I think by about sort of February, March, it becomes something quite official. It becomes something a lot more, but not without a meeting with the parents, just to say, is this all right? Because it all seems so soon.
Yeah.
They said, just go and enjoy yourself, son. You've not had such a great time. So that's what I did. Just enjoyed myself.
But I think. I mean, we've known each other. Well, I've known you since you were a kid, and I'm a little bit older than you, of course. I'm not going to put too much of a finer point on that. But I think we were all surprised that this relationship happened. But it seems like such a strong relationship from the get go. Is that? I mean, obviously from your perspective, that's how it felt. But the relationship was really put to a test on The Unbreakable a few months ago on the BBC. Tell us about that, because that was quite an interesting programme.
Yeah, the Unbreakables, it was literally, as you said, it's we were given lots of tasks and sort of challenges, if you like. It was a new TV format with other couples, celebrities and their partners. And I was asked if I wanted to go along and do it. And, I think everything's always been about an adventure, doing something a little bit different and challenging yourself. But to be honest, I think really if there was going to be a challenge, it would have been getting through lockdown.
Yeah.
I think that would probably be a far bigger challenge than maybe doing a TV show. But it was really interesting. And to be honest with you, I met some people on that show that they were inspiring. I mean, Simon Weston and his wife Lucy. I've never met anyone quite like him, and I've never met anyone quite like her as well. And some of the things that they've had to deal with some of the challenges that Simon's had to face, and there was a lot of inspiring people on there, and it really, we're still friends with them to this day. But it was, it was great fun. I'm just glad I missed the bit where we had to jump off a crane. Well, Shirley had done a COVID test the day that we were due on there. We were on there for a surprise package, and we were at this hotel in Exeter, and they came and did the test while we were having our tea. And of course, you're not meant to do a COVID test when you've just eaten food,
right? And
it came up positive, even though we were completely fine. So they were just like, oh God, what are we going to do? So then we just had to sort of stay in this hotel room for 2 days. And we did another test, and then of course we went in. And then when we got in, because I'd seen the pilot, one of the challenges was to do in tandem off the top of a crane bungee jump.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified of heights, absolutely terrified. And I was absolutely dreading it. I thought, God, I'll sail everything else, I'll be fine with it. And anyway, we got in there, and of course, we're sat round, the surprise package comes in, me and Shirley, and then we're all sat round this table having dinner with all these couples, and then, you missed yesterday, we had to do this bungee jumping. And I'm just sat there, and I'm just like thinking, get in. Thank God for that.
Well, I think we all...
So, yeah, it was me that... fix the whole COVID test.
Well, it worked. It worked a treat.
It worked, yeah.
But you've done some cracking work, Dan. One of the things that I found really interesting was because I've said it a lot that during lockdown we thought everyone had to think outside the box, and that included TV companies. And one of the shows that you were involved in was a show called Miranda's Games with Showbiz Names, and it was basically on Zoom. There was there was yourself and Shirley Ballas, of course. Robbie Williams was in it, Jerome Janus and his family. I mean, that was literally a unique thing that will probably, well, hopefully, let's say, will never have to be used again. But it was such an interesting thing, that.
Yeah, I mean, it was Christmas Eve, wasn't it? I think it was, everything was done. Everything changed. I mean, obviously TV, things like Strictly, things like that, everything carried on, and I ended up becoming something of the sort of PA, but I also became that person. There was a lot of TV shows happening through COVID, and we'd have to have the TV company outside the house, and they'd give me instructions of what to set up inside the house. Wow. Setting up sort of lights, setting up cameras, and sort of talking with the... It was really, really interesting. That was sort of a similar thing, but we had to do this show, where it was me and Shirley, and it was Robbie Williams and his drummer, and it was Jermaine Jennis and his lady.
Yeah.
And it was just all these just mad sort of challenges given, go and get dressed up as Father Christmas, and you get to put squirty cream around your face and to put a beard on. I think one of them was go and get a pillow. And Robbie Williams went and got a cushion from the lounge next door. So he failed it. He said, "Well, that's not a pillow, is it? It's a cushion." And he's just like going, "Well, I've got 27 bedrooms in this house, or toilets or whatever." And I was just like, "Oh, mate,
different world."
Helping yourself here. Yeah, different world. And I think he thought I was cheated at one point. He had his game face on. It was hilarious. He was properly going for it.
Yeah, he was. He took it very seriously. He looks the type that doesn't like to lose. But before we talk about something about George, is there? I mean, you've been touring it seems like the last decade with your Tommy Cooper show. Is that looking like it might return at any point?
Yeah, we go out and tour in May, and we're literally going everywhere and anywhere with it. It's 40 dates, which I have to say, none of which are close to each other. So we're going to be spending most of the time in a van. But I've got this fantastic new promoter that's come on board. There's me and another guy called Tom, and yeah, we're gonna be touring the show as a one man. Yep, a one man show. Which I'm really, really excited about. Of course, it's got the blessing of the estate, and we're going to be doing some. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be giving a small percentage of what we take to St John's Ambulance towards getting defibrillators in. More defibrillators in performing areas across the country. As you know, Tommy died of a heart attack on stage, so it was something that I wanted to do something a little bit different with it this time, and we tried this out as a one-man show at the Liverpool Theatre Festival, just coming out of the lockdowns, and it worked brilliantly. I wasn't quite sure how it. I wanted to do a sort of a live and unleashed kind of thing with Tommy. And I don't even think he did his act for that long. So it is a big challenge, but we've added quite a few new things in there and stuff. It's going to be really cool. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting those size 14s back on.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost another victim, if you like, of lockdown, because it was a three-hander, wasn't it? And I saw it actually at Theatre Clwyd as a three-hander, and you needed to basically turn it into a one-man show because of the COVID, right?
Yeah, that was it. I was make it COVID friendly. You know, it was as you saw it at Clwyd with Sharon Byatt and Gareth Jones were in it then, and it worked fantastically. You know, but it was like when Bill Elms from the Liverpool Theatre Festival, was amazing actually, just to get a festival on in the middle of all of that. You know, just came to me and said, "Can you do sort of a one-man version?" I thought, well, yeah. Because that's what he did. You know, he did. And he did have support acts, this, that, and the other. You know, so yeah. So we put something together, and that's going to be great. Really looking forward to that. But yeah, I just love playing him, to be honest. So
yeah, you do it well. And if anybody hasn't seen Danny Taylor playing Tommy Cooper, it is a must. You've got to go see it. But anyway, let's talk about this now, because eight years ago now you played John Lennon in Through the Glass Onion, and you're now playing his partner in crime, George Harrison, in Something About George. You're playing it everywhere. Tell us about it. What's going on?
Well, this one, I'm not actually playing George Harrison. I'm talking about his life after the Beatle years. Right. It's called Something About George, and yeah, we it's a fantastic show, and it's incredible from where we've started and where the show is today. But the show is all about George Harrison's life after the Beatles, from what was not his official 1968 Wonderwall music. We actually go straight into All Things Must Pass, which is something of an iconic album. And also a lot of the songs in that album, which were written during his time in the Beatles, but had never been selected for the release. So it really is his sort of the inner workings, talking about, you know, a lot of these songs and how they came about, and friendships, some of the songs that he wrote with Bob Dylan. We talk about his relationship with Ravi Shankar, how they went on to go on to do the first sort of charity concerts, if you like, the Blueprint for Live Aid and Live Earth and all those different things, those different big sort of concerts, which was the concert for Bangladesh, right, which they did, and George had got his friends involved with it, Bob Dylan and Eric Clapton and all these different, Leon Russell. It was amazing. So we go from that and we start playing songs from the concert. We've got a 5-piece band behind us, by the way. Most incredible musicians. It's full projection on the back, sort of it evokes sort of old Liverpool and sort of his growing up years in Wavertree. And it goes right into to the time when Eric Idle was looking for investment for his new feature film, but no one would touch it due to the blasphemy, and how he ended up becoming a film producer and going on to produce sort of amazing films like Mona Lisa, Uncle Friday with Nail and I, goes on, but he did some incredible stuff. And of course, in all of that, you've got the music, you've got the great albums, and there's a couple of duds in there as well. So, and how that evolves, and then of course meeting Jess Lynn, and how that sort of transformed him again, and again that relationship, and how that sort of, and then of course you've got the personal relationships. We've got a lot of mentions there, and songs that he's written for Patty Boyd, of course. Something was one of those songs, and his relationship with her, and her eventually marrying Eric Clapton, who was his close friend, and his feelings. So we cover everything. I mean, he did live quite an extraordinary life, and he only passed away when he was 58.
Yeah.
Which was so young, really, when you think of what he managed to cram in, and just those sort of 8 years before. But yeah, we just go through his life, and we've already played a few theatres, and the response is, I go round and I see the audience afterwards, and people are just completely overwhelmed, and the music is just so timeless, and they're just like, God, I didn't know this, I didn't know that, I didn't know that. It's just, and they're quite emotional. People are quite emotional when they come out, a little bit like they were when we did the Lennon, except with Lennon, I was playing Lennon. And of course, that was a different concept in itself. But this is more of a tribute. It's a biopic. It's a piece of theatre. It's also a tribute. And of course, it would have been his 80th year this year if he was still alive. And which were a part of that tour is to be at the Liverpool Philharmonic, the iconic Liverpool Philharmonic. Yep. And we're there for his birthday, 25th of February, when he would have been 80. And we've got members of the Liverpool Philharmonic Orchestra coming to play for the show, and we've got people from the Sing Me Choir. I think we've got 40 people from Sing Me Merseyside Choir coming down to sing as well on some stuff on the show as well. So I mean, that's going to be an amazing evening in itself. But as a piece, it's a celebration of his life and all the things that he did after, really, and really sort of focusing on the character of George Harrison and what made him who he was.
I think it's brilliant these days that you can go to the theatre and not just be entertained, but you can actually come away having learnt something in a way. And I think people are going to actually take quite a lot away from this production. Just, they'll think they know George Harrison until they come and see this, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought I knew George Harrison. I remember I've always been a big sort of Beatles sort of, it comes down from the parents, going through the old record collections when you were a kid and just, whacking those albums on and just sat there and going, how did people put this together, and just being really quite obsessed with it. It was certainly a thing within our sort of our era, I think, Andy. But it's you do come away that way, and it's fascinating. And you're just listening to some, as a songwriter myself, it's listening to some of those songs like Something, or While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Here Comes the Sun, My Sweet Lord, they're timeless songs, Yeah. But there's another thing, the whole My Sweet Lord thing, the court case with that. there's so much stuff in there. Alan Klein and the problems they had with him. He was the former Beatles manager, and he just kept appearing again. And I think the thing is as well with George Harrison is when I first started doing the show, I was asked to do it, and I first got into the rehearsal room and with the band. I don't know what it is, but all the things I've ever done, I've never felt this like weird calmness in the room. I can't explain it, but it's just a real calmness. It's a great thing to be doing. I'm really enjoying it. I love playing the songs, and I love talking about his life. He was a favourite for many, I think. So
yeah. Well, it plays Theatre Clwyd in Mould next week. It's the 8th and 9th of March.
Back on the old stomping ground.
Absolutely, it must be like a homecoming for you.
Yeah, it is. It's where we, I mean, you did the YTS as well down at Glenravon, and it's where all our youth theatre days and all of that. So it's, I'll be coming up that hill. I'll be smelling the sighs as I ascend.
There's a lot of renovation going on up at Theatre Clwyd, but it still smells the same.
It still smells the same. It's still exactly the same. Yeah. Love it.
Hey, Danny, it's been a treat to speak to you this afternoon. Thanks ever so much for that, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us on, Andy, and I'll see you soon, mate, for a pint.
Yeah, definitely. And as I say, the 8th and 9th of March up at Theatre Clwyd. We've got to go see it. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, get down.
Cheers, buddy. Take care, man.
See you soon. Ta-ra.
Ta-ra. Something About George playing up at Theatre Clwyd on the 8th and 9th of March. Box office number for Theatre Clwyd 01352 344 101 01352 344 101. Looks like it's going to be a corker. Go on, support your local theatres, ladies and gentlemen. They won't be there forever if you don't.
Stage and Screen with Andy Snowden. Let us know what you want to hear on WhatsApp with the number 01978 540 410. We love local. Calon FM.